grimy, dirty, grainy, earth-toned, and ridiculous. Oh, and those mustaches. Moustache. Tonight, on night 12 of 31 Days of Horror. We watched C.H.U.D. Yep. The non-classic that everyone who ever walked through a horror section at a video store saw the cover of. after after the opening scare, which is a lady walking down the middle of a street at night, and she stops by a manhole, and a strange hand reaches out, grabs her ankle, pulls her in. This movie moves slow as shit. We're introduced to all of the players: a cop, a photographer, a soup kitchen preacher, and the photographer's wife. And we spend the next hour just watching them try to figure out what's happening. Basic rundown: a bunch of homeless people, and what we find out later, other people have begun disappearing. The homeless people who have all disappeared, they all live underground, and they're missing, and haven't been seen in 2 weeks except for one of them. And when the cop talks to that one guy who has been seen, he's all kinds of crazy, just all kinds of crazy. More and more disappearances happen as Bosch, our cop, our police captain, begins to look deeper and deeper into them. Now, he's been told by the mayor, and it might be the chief of police or the commissioner, and a government official to ignore the disappearances for whatever reason. The dirty dreariness of any 80s big city sets our tone. Streets are dirty, filled with homeless people. The ambiance of the movie tries to build as we move through the homeless people, Bosch, and Cooper, the photographer, deeper into the darkness of the story. We only get really 2 peeks of the creatures as they emerge from manholes in the first, 50 minutes of the movie. The rest is just the actors talking to each other and trying to figure out what's going on. Very slow, very dull. When we finally see the monsters, the editing is so sporadic and so spastic that we almost get nothing. Eventually, we get 1 or 2 decent shots of the one mask or creature that they made. when there are many of them, it's far away shot and it's cut really quick. So, yeah. Lingering way too long on the build up and interactions between the people, the soup kitchen preacher, the cop, the photographer, and his wife. It's like they didn't know they were making a horror movie or a monster movie. It's almost as if they wanted to make a drama and then just threw some monsters in at the end. The actual movie, I would say, doesn't start until the hour mark, until you're an hour in. And that's when the monsters start coming out and killing people. And it's like you sat through an hour of build-up for very, very short clips of these creatures. Cannibalistic, humanoid, underground dwellers. At halfway through, 44 minutes in, we, with only 2 reveal scenes at this point, we finally get to know what C.H.U.D means. And if you look at the front of the box, it says it for you. But for 44 minutes, they're not really mentioned. There's something going on. These people are disappearing somehow. But that's it. So we don't... we get their name, cannibalistic, humanoid, underground dwellers, at 44 minutes in. And at that point, we have seen them twice. We've seen bits of them twice. I understand why this movie never got the cult following that VHS cover kind of demands. Because I remember walking through the movie store horror section, always seeing that cover and being like, "Oh God, that's creepy." Because it's, guy coming out of the fucking manhole. It's terrifying. But there's nothing here. There's nothing in this movie. It's literally an hour of people talking, and then maybe 10 minutes of monster footage spliced into action scenes. The big bad isn't even the monsters. It's the government guy. The fuck? Anyways, the movie's too slow. There's too much focus on the people trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And nowhere near enough cannibalistic, humanoid, underground dwellers. You name it C.H.U.D, the movie should be fucking chock full of cannibalistic, humanoid, underground dwellers, okay? I'm giving this letdown of a movie a 1 out of 5 burritos because it's disappointing on its own, but I had never seen this movie. I had seen the cover, and the cover is a great cover, and I had always, when I was younger, I put it off. I put off watching this movie because it kind of looked scary, and it was just so disappointing that, I don't know, I'm looking back at my childhood and thinking, man, had I known what this movie was, I would never have appreciated that cover as much. Well, Hollywood focuses on remaking hit horrors that A, don't need to be remade, and B, still stand the test of time from the 80s. This movie, C.H.U.D, sits just waiting for, I don't know, some inspired director and writer to remake it properly. This movie, it failed at what it was. From the cover to what they are is a great idea, but the movie is such a letdown. this needs to be remade. And I know there's a sequel which is more comedy, and the Chuds aren't even monsters anymore. They're basically zombie vampires or some shit. I will not be watching Chud 2. But Chud definitely needs a remake. The movie Us, I think it's Us, where the family is living in a house and replicants of them show up and they live underground, was kind of inspired by Chud. That movie has to be a million times better than fucking Chud. So yeah, 1 out of 5 burritos. Do not watch. Not worth it. Had they focused on the monsters, maybe, just maybe, this movie would have been much more than it ended up being. But all in all, it's a perfect example of don't judge a book by its cover, because the cover of this fucking book looked awesome, and everything inside was just shit. So yeah, night 12 of 31 Days of Horror is in the books. Come back tomorrow and see what our 13th pick will be. I don't know. It'll be something interesting for sure. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. Come back tomorrow and see what we watch. Later.